YouTube. Welcome to season 3 of Screw's Kitchen. Hashtag Screw's Kitchen. Hashtag ScrewTube. Know the vibes? Stick around. Now to start this off, we going with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now we add 1 tablespoon of salt. And guess what else after this? Just a little tip of water. And mind you, you don't want to use hot water. Make sure this is either room temperature or cold water. Now we pretty much just incorporating all of our ingredients and things, working our dough into a solid mass. Then we get into kneading the dough. Definition for knead: like I said, all we doing here, we just working in our dough until we get to a solid mass, right? Now you gotta always pay attention to the actual texture of the dough, right? When it's kind of loose, still you just add in a little bit of water bit by bit. You don't want to put too much water in because you'll oversaturate your dough, then you'll have to add more flour, more salt, things like that. So just take it bit by bit, little by little, right? And as you can see here, we just kneading the dough, man, working it in, paying attention to the actual consistency of it, paying attention to the actual remnants of whatever flour is left. You want all of that to become into one mass. When the edge of that bowl is clean, you can just take that dough and wipe up all of that dough. That's pretty much when you know it's good, right? You want more like a Play-Doh kind of texture. Right, and if you look at my hand, you can see the dough. This is also another way to tell. You look at your hand, and when you see the dough is like still a little bit sticky for the boiled dumpling, that's when it's ready. Now you bring a pot of unsalted water to a rolling boil, right? Now we form our dumpling. Now you want to get a nice little piece of that dough. You can make it as big or as small as you choose, but just for argument's sake, I'd say grab you a good decent size about 2 inches across, right? Then you can just shape it out into a more or less a round shape or oblong, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect, but round is cool. All right, then we just drop that in the water, shape all of our dumplings, drop them in the water, and that's literally it. 15 to 20 minutes later, depending on the amount of dumpling that you put in here, and you're good to go. If you have any left over, you can actually fry these up in the morning for breakfast with your eggs or whatever the case may be. Just split them down the middle in half, put them in some oil, good to go. Now for our fried dumplings, we're going with the same exact ingredients basically, with just a different technique. So I'm gonna show you guys what I mean in a second. Now we had our same amount of flour, same amount of salt. The only difference is, as far as ingredients, we add baking powder. Please use baking powder, folks. Do not use baking soda, right? So we get about a good tablespoon of this in here. Same exact water, just a little bit, not too much. We begin to knead our dough. Now, if you're wondering what it is that I'm actually doing with my hands, I'm about to show you, right? All you have to do, you just hold your fingers like this and you kind of like rake through it, right? You want to incorporate everything because unless you added cornmeal, like I mentioned earlier, you won't be able to see what's, being incorporated because they all the same color, you feel me? So we do the same exact steps we did earlier, making sure that our dough is, tight. Now with this, as opposed to the boiled dumpling, I like for this dough to be a little bit more drier when I'm done with it. right? And I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. You can always check with your hand, right? The amount of dough left on your hand when you're done signifies when the dough is done, right? So when you could just roll the dough off your fingers like that, and it's not as adhesive as the boiled dumpling dough was, you're good to go. You let this hang out for about 10 minutes or so while we heat up some oil and we start frying. Now the same rules basically apply, right? You're gonna get about a nice, decent size, as big as you want them to be, right? And then you wanna put a thumbprint like my mom always taught me. Big up Miss Terry, right? You wanna put a thumbprint, reason being because if you want them round, you could just leave it like that, but because of the baking soda in it, the baking powder in it, it's gonna balloon up. So if you want them round, that's fine. I prefer mine more level, kind of like almost like a biscuit, if you would kind of compare it that way, right? So 5 minutes on each side on a medium heat, right? Don't put it any higher because you're gonna burn it, right? So just medium heat, 5 minutes on each side, socially distanced, make sure they all apart, they not together, And that's really pretty much it, man. Now if you can see here how they ballooned up, right? And watch the flip, golden brown. It's that simple, man. 5 minutes on each side, super simple, super easy, dumb, delicious, man. This is pretty much the end result, folks. Like I always say, thanks for tuning in with me each and every week. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bless.